schools just shown represent only a minuscule sampling of the thousands of schools in the country. In the United States, it is required that all students attend school until the age of 16. This schooling is provided through local, state, and federal funding. However, the quality of education drastically differs among schools across the country, as there is a lack of federally instituted curriculum and benchmark standards. Additionally, 10% of students attend private schools, where they generally pay a high tuition for a better education to be better equipped for their future, while other students have the privilege to attend publicly funded charter and magnet schools that typically receive better funding and provide a more comprehensive education for their students. Yet many of these schools have negative ramifications, including a lower allocation of funds designated to other public schools, less opportunities provided to non-charter school students, and a skewed admissions process. These different education systems produce students of divergent proficiencies. Furthermore, students of these specialized schools tend to find greater successes in higher education and job placement than those that attend public school, leading to a further disparity. Thus, there exists the issue of discrepancies in the quality of all schools due to the range of cost of schools and differences in the treatment of students due to their academic standing. This issue comes with a plethora of implications that we will explore in the presentation.
An instance in which we see inequality in our educational system is in the difference between private and public schools. Private schools exist because certain parents are willing to pay more for a more specialized and prestigious education for their children. But what are the far-reaching consequences of this disparity in schooling? This chart, taken from a 2006 study sponsored by the U.S. Department of Education, displays the average scores of students in grades 4 and 8 of a standardized reading and mathematics assessment for both public and private schools. In reading, grade 4 students in private school scored an average of 19 points higher than those who attended public school, while grade 8 private school students beat out the average public school score by 21 points. In mathematics, grade 4 and 8 private school students outscored their public school counterparts by 10 and 16 points respectively. It is important to note that correlation does not necessarily indicate causation, as several other factors could have influenced the difference in scores, such as socioeconomic level, since private schools are typically attended by wealthier children, which is known to have an impact on test performance. Despite this, the inequality in education between private and public schools still has negative implications that result. For one, private schools have the potential to create an education gap amongst the privileged and the poor. By essentially offering the children of the wealthy and affluent an elite education, these schools give them an even greater edge over less privileged students, putting the students in public school at a serious disadvantage. Another interesting thing to look at is the racial and ethnic composition of students enrolled in private schools. This chart reveals an astonishing 10% difference in the number of Hispanics who attend public and private schools, and 6% difference in the African American population, while private schools are comprised of 16% more white than public schools. Thus, disparities in the education amongst private and public schools affect disparities in education between whites and minority groups as well.
Inner city and southern states grapple with student success due to high poverty rates. These states experience more than 30% of people living in poverty. These states between 20 and 29%, and the remaining states less than 20%. In U.S. schools where less than 10% of its students are in poverty, test scores were higher, placing these schools as number 1 in the world. Meanwhile, schools with 10 to 25% of its students in poverty ranked 3rd in the